What?
Red 7!
I don't know what Red 7 means.
Hot route!
I don't. What is hot route?
Will you just go stand on the other side, please? Down! Ready, down, set, hut, 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 hut!
Hit me! Booyah! That's what we call a sack lunch.
It's time for the Soonerscoop.com postgame show presented by Eskridge Lexus in Oklahoma City. Eskridge Lexus is the official travel partner of Soonerscoop.com podcasts. Now, here's your road crew, Carrie, Eddie, and Bob, wrapping up all the action and reaction from this week's game.
We made it. We're here. Finally. It's the post-game pod that we did not give you until Monday, after Lincoln Riley had already had his OU Texas press conference. And that's kind of just because of schedule and the traveling, and it was just a mess, and it was Kansas.
Maybe today is Saturday. Maybe they don't know that. Maybe they've
been asking where the hell is the pod.
Some people are, and that's very flattering, I would say, for so many people to want to know where it is. So here we are, and now we roll.
OU does beat Kansas 45-20. I don't know how much you really want to talk about this game because it's OU Texas.
I don't think there is anything to talk about. It was probably I think there are points of the game that can be talked about. Like I think
up to the point it was 42-7.
Yeah, I think that they were probably a touchdown away from kind of, I think what I told you guys on the way home was kind of getting away with it. I mean, if you get a couple stops there in the fourth quarter, you score another touchdown, and all of a sudden 52 to 14 is even a number that I think a lot of people would have been like, okay, we can live with that. But 45-20 just kind of has I don't know. It seems like a whole number, so everybody's kind of just like, it doesn't look as sexy as a bigger blowout.
And they played just bad enough that Jalen Hurts had to come out and give an opening statement today for his
that was interesting.
Press conference.
I've
never seen that before.
No, it was interesting, and even Riley said something to the effect of they kind of had a team powwow after the game on Saturday. Just as far as put it this way, somebody even asked me on the message board about Kenneth Murray's post game if he was pissed off after the game, and I don't think he was like pissed off by any means, but I mean they were happy with the 25-point road victory, but I think they were unhappy with how they played. They were a little unhappy with just the performance overall, and if anything, maybe that's a little bit of a good news for this team going into the Cotton Bowl this week.
I would describe it as just a very strange feeling, like standing down on the field after the game was over.
Well, it was a very much just get this over with.
Get it over, yes.
We got 3.5 hours. We already delayed. Just get this goddamn thing over with.
Everybody was just standing around, just kind of looking like, yeah, okay, well, we can finally move on. This thing's behind us. It wasn't pretty. I'm sorry.
Harry's home phone.
That's the studio line.
I didn't even know that people still had home phones.
Yeah, you do.
Well, I mean, I knew that you did, but
I don't.
I have never once on my own thought I need a home phone for anything.
We have to have it for the studio.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying, like I would bet 90% of the people that build houses nowadays
we really missed an opportunity.
Don't have home phones.
We really missed an opportunity to put a telemarketer on the pod right there.
I probably would have been able to speak English.
Like if it had been like Highway Patrol.
Oh, that would have been cool.
I would have had to like give him money so I didn't look like an asshole.
Well, I never. That's why I never answer those, because if I'm ever put in that spot,
don't you feel guilty too?
Well, it's kind of like the tipping thing that we've talked about. The last thing I need is somebody like going around on Twitter saying like, "Can't believe this asshole Eddie Radosevich tipped $2 at a Chili's."
I overtip everywhere.
You have to.
It's just you have to do it. Yeah, it's what you sign up for. Not like we're famous public figures or anything. But
no, but it would be embarrassing if somebody like let it be known that I was giving the pizza guy $3.
Yeah.
And I have friends that work in the service industry that I get it. It's tough.
Yeah, you have very former roommates and stuff.
Oh yeah.
If you stink, you get 15%. If you're better than
I never give below 15%.
Well,
like,
some people
unless
have
it's
been
like
awful.
something like if I
it takes a lot.
Yes, I mean like if the food is like not cooked or something, and they were a jerk when you said something, that I just don't mess with people who make my food. That's one of my biggest rules to live by. Don't mess with the people who make your food. They can really mess up your day. So anyway, I think what I was talking about was just the malaise. Everybody felt, and this is what I said. I came to this. If I had written a column, it would have been this: you cannot win a football game in Lawrence, Kansas. You can't. There's no way to win a football game in like on the scoreboard. You can get a 1 in the win column, but you don't win anything really. I mean, nobody's going to pat you on the back and say, you did a good job beating Kansas. Like, you can only lose. That's the only thing you can do when you go to Lawrence, Kansas.
And that's what got scary when Kenneth Murray went down early, because that's what we're thinking, uh-oh. But then he came back later that drive.
Got scarier when Brian Meade was standing in front of Puka Williams and he just blew right past him.
That was you could lose some people in the elements with injuries. Luckily, none of that happened, and we just sort of wait and see with Ely and Swenson.
There was a mini meltdown on the board happening when Brian Meade came in and missed that tackle. Let's just say the name Brandon Crow came up on the live thread.
A little depressing. It's clear he's the backup Mike linebacker. I mean, the way they've moved things around.
But they love him. They've always loved him.
They have, but that's who they've got. I mean, they've moved Ryan Jones to more of that nickel Sam with Buki.
Yeah, he's playing with Deshaun White. Yeah.
Well, Deshaun White and Asamoah are your will. Now Ryan Jones has been moved to where Buki and Agwebu are. Their middle linebacker backup is Brian Meade, and that's just. I mean, I don't know if they can survive that if Kenneth Murray just never gets hurt. But I think that's the one spot where that rotational defense that's probably not going to work on.
I would think they'd make a pretty quick decision to move Deshaun White to Kenneth Murray's spot and then Ryan Jones to Deshaun White's spot.
Well, Asamoah has been...
Yeah, he's been really good. I'm slighting him a little bit.
Deshaun White's spot where Jones moved over. But, I mean, it's just... They can't lose Murray.
He's looked really good, I thought. Asamoah.
Yes.
Talking about him. He's been very... For a guy that, like... And I guess this is just completely projecting, and I don't know like what the level of high school football he played was, but from a private school in Columbus, Ohio, like he's a very sure tackler. I guess I don't know if that should be surprising to me, but I can't remember a time that I guess, and really all those guys have as far as like the new guys, especially Asamoah and White. It seems like they offer an ability to tackle that Oklahoma hasn't had.
They didn't have it coached out of them.
No, I like it's kind of a joke, but I know you're serious. Like that's a sad state of affairs.
Look, if there's one thing that I mean, against Kansas, the third down stuff kind of reared its ugly head a little bit. Third and long, Kansas started out 3 of 4. On third down conversions. Then it got to like 3 of 9 and then like 4 of 10. I was keeping track of that most of the game. So they kind of got it back under control, and then you saw Parnell Motley look like the old Parnell Motley a little bit. But overall, I think one thing that as a fan that you can watch and appreciate and take some pride in is knowing that certain guys are developing like Brian Asamoah. Like, you no longer look at a guy that's not playing and say, well, he must be really worthless.
Yeah,
if he can't even get on the field for this team.
You look at the fourth quarter again, and that's when Kansas did a lot of damage. Jayhawks had that 98-yard drive, right, in the first quarter. In the second,
after brilliant punting by Reeves Manchow.
We talked about it Saturday night on the way home. Like, Reeves Manchow is one of the better punters out there.
Munchow?
Whatever his name is, he's the punter.
But he's good.
At least we say his name. Tom Herman won't even talk about his punter.
Yeah, that's true.
And then they gave up 98 yards combined in the second and third quarters. So, I mean, that one drive sticks out like a sore thumb, and then they absolutely dominated during the second and third quarter, both sides of the ball. I mean, that's when you're talking about the phases of the game, like the portions of the game that you want to talk about. That would be it.
Yeah, that was definitely a positive that you can take away out of it.
Well, the other thing coming out of the Kansas game that you look at and you're a little concerned about is the offensive line, because early in that game they were not opening up any holes either for Jalen Hurts or Trey Sermon or anybody, and it took kind of getting the passing game going. And Trey Sermon slowly got a little bit more. Jalen Hurts found some openings here and there, but then Rhamondre Stevenson came in and really opened things up. But that offensive line without, and I don't want to say without Eric Swinson. I'm saying mainly, Adrian Ely, because I think from what we've seen, we kind of had reason to question whether Eric Swinson was the answer or not. And
I think he's better than Proctor, though.
The thing is, Texas probably would have told us that, but he's not playing against Texas. Right. Lincoln Riley, again today, addressed his offensive line and how young they are and how they're learning, and gave a very dire report on the future of Adrian Ely and Eric Swinson.
So I think they've done that. We've been solid considering, we've started 5 different lineups in 5 games. And like I said the other day, it's not ideal, but we've been able to survive a little bit early with all those different lineups, and what it's given us is more guys can play different positions. It'll give, we wouldn't even have known, honestly, never really imagined getting to a scenario where Tyrese Robinson would have to play right tackle, and now we know he can play it, and he can play it pretty well. And regardless of where any of those guys end up playing, it gives you a greater understanding on the line. It gives you more depth. We've had a chance to play more guys. So there's going to be a lot of positives. And I think our guys have handled it solid, but we've got to continue to build there. Swinson, Ely, I would say both highly questionable for this game, probably at best, and so we'll see how they progress here through the week. But it's, I don't see either one of those guys out extremely long term, but it's also, they're dealing with a little bit more than a bump or a scratch too. So we'll continue to monitor them. We're the group that we've played with. Did a lot of good things the other day, and we've got a chance to build with them. And if we can add any of those 2 guys, that would certainly be helpful.
This guy, the always
I hate every
informational
week calling him a liar, but I mean, he says things that aren't true.
I mean, I think we would all 3 agree that, or at least I'll just put it. I mean, I would be surprised if they don't get Adrian Ely back. I know it was so weird how he originally stated it, as far as it was week to week, and then it was indefinite.
Indefinitely, yeah.
And then that threw everybody for a loop. I never got the feeling that this was going to be a long term thing. And I mean, if he's out against Texas, that's what now 4 weeks counting the bye week, or 3 weeks counting the bye week.
3 games.
Oh no, yeah, 3 games.
But he could get injured during the bye week.
Sure.
We don't actually know when it happened. But yeah, I mean, and when you've seen him down on the field, it feels like he hasn't looked down about things, right? Like
no,
and he's
not a guy that has been, like lumbering around. You can tell if a guy like has a foot injury or a knee injury or a leg injury or whatever kind of injury. Like, they're usually nursing it in some way. Ely never really, unless it was like a concussion or something, and then you're just basically kind of getting into basically us trying to throw things out there because we just don't know.
Yeah, and if it gets into concussion, that's concerning, because
if you're
multiple
if you're
week
missing
concussion things,
absolutely,
you're on the verge of having to give up football.
Sure.
I mean, if that's the case, but I haven't heard that.
And there's nothing that would make you think like he didn't leave a game because of a head injury or anything like that. So,
but a lot of times that stuff will happen in practice, more so than in games. But no, I was told Saturday that he should be back for Texas. I was also told that Eric Swinson is going to be out for quite a while, and I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Eric Swinson this year.
If Ely returns, and we all believe he's going to, does Tyrese Robinson go to left tackle, or does Ely go to left tackle and Robinson go to right, or is Proctor still a better option at left tackle and then put Tyrese back at right
For
guard?
now, it's Proctor. For Texas, it's Proctor, because they haven't worked Ely at left. And when we'd asked Bill Bedenbaugh, back when the season started, I think so. He was asked. He said he's a right tackle. He's our right tackle. Like, it just sometimes it's like left-handed, right-handed with that stuff. I mean, Bobby Evans had a hard time making that transition. Didn't want to. It's just the way that it goes. I mean, it's just he doesn't fare as well on that side of the ball from the times that they've worked him there. But I think the real question is Bray Walker, have we kind of learned that he's like the weak link of the offensive line right now?
it might be a little unfair to say weak link, and maybe it's not even unfair.
Maybe RJ Proctor's a weaker link.
I just maybe not ready, glaringly not ready. Is that an easier way to put it than weak link? I don't know. I mean, we kind of talked about this on the way home, just as far as like, and Bob, you saw him in high school. Bray just kind of almost...
Where's the nasty?
Well, it just leaves you wanting so much more because he's so imposing. He's such a big, monster-looking kid. Everything just doesn't seem to be... I don't want to say not clicking, but you're just left wanting more. I don't know any other way to say it.
And the other thing that people always ask about, and I'm sure a lot of people haven't heard us talk about this. We've talked about it a lot recently. Eddie, you've mentioned it a bunch. But people are like, well, why can't Michael Thompson do this or do that? Like, he doesn't even dress. Like, it's the weirdest thing. Like, he doesn't dress for home games. He doesn't travel. He doesn't, like, their traveling offensive line, like, they don't have a whole lot of guys. I mean, they just don't. I mean, they got Finley Felix, Stacey Wilkins,
EJ and Doma Ogar. All three of those guys have played the last 4 games. It's clear they are not going to redshirt.
And then you've got Ian McIver backing up.
I'll put it this way. Like, Michael Thompson, this is how little I've seen the guy. I would have a hard time recognizing who he was.
Yeah.
Like, you have all those guys standing out over there on the sidelines usually. He's not in that group. Like, he's on the team. I'm not saying he isn't.
There's just that weird group. He and Marcus Hicks
is another one that
I almost feel
don't
like
ever dress up for anything.
They got to transform their bodies. Maybe to move from defensive tackle to the offensive line.
Benny Wiley's like, you don't look good enough in a uniform. You're not putting this goddamn thing on.
You're not who you need to be. And I think Marcus Hicks probably moving inside. And I don't know why you wouldn't dress him out even on home games. But I feel like those are guys that are going through that body transformation, and they're losing this year because of it.
It's not the situation that is most desirable for Oklahoma going into this game, and I don't think that Texas. They don't. It's the best front seven they've probably played all year. Creed talked about that this morning, but at the same time, they could have whoever out there. The fact of the matter is, maybe outside of the Big 12 championship last year, Oklahoma's gotten their ass whooped in Dallas.
Yeah.
Yes.
For what, the last 6-7 years?
And physically beaten.
I mean, they've won a couple games in that time.
They've been 3-3, but it hasn't felt like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Lincoln talked about that.
If you want to go the last 10, it's 7-3, and it feels like OU's had the least amount of success down there in the last decade.
And Lincoln talked about that today. The first game he played in, he felt like was the worst game that they'd ever played. And it's one of those things, like, even Bob didn't want to admit it, but they had been getting pushed around for a few years now, and they finally kind of found their way last year in the second half, made some big plays, got back in it, but defensively they've been terrible. They've just like letting Case McCoy beat you that one year. Yeah. I mean, it's maddening to see it if you're an OU fan because
the fight has been brought to them, and they've been hit multiple times and have not responded the way that I think a lot of people
let's face it, a lot of times
would respond.
Texas has had the emotional edge going into this.
Yeah,
game.
absolutely,
because they had nothing to play for.
Yeah, or OU was high on the hog or the heavy favorite or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they still are this year, but it's not as much, and it feels like
was it like 21 or something last year?
I'm not sure.
No, I think it was a couple. I think it was like 14 or something. It was like 17 something. A couple 3 years ago.
2015 had to be bad when they were 1-4 going in.
I think it was 16 or 17.
Okay,
something like that.
But this is the first time where you feel like maybe OU's players have the emotion with it too.
Sure,
like they're not having to respond to Texas. They're going to bring it to them.
Well, and we'll see. I mean, this is the type of thing. This is the type of game that. For whatever they've been saying for the first 5 weeks of the season, that nothing is good enough. You got to get better every week, even when you kick the shit out of South Dakota or whatever. Like, this is the week if you're about the talk, you come out and do it. Is it not?
And this is when last year Monty Bledsoe So they came out flat against Texas, and I think we all just what the heck?
How is that even possible?
What? Huh?
If you can stand there this year and say that the fight isn't, or that they came out flat, like Alex Grinch might slit somebody's throat if he hears somebody say that.
There is one thing that might have OU fired up before this ever begins. Chair of the Horns Up for Peace movement, sitting across from me right now, Lincoln Riley, was asked about horns down, and I think Eddie has brainwashed the head coach of the Oklahoma Sooners, maybe.
Lincoln, at Big 12 Media Days, the director of officiating basically said it depends on whether horns down is going to be a penalty or not. I know you guys dealt with this, last year, especially before the Big 12 championship game, but how are you handling that with your team before this Saturday?
Yeah, we won't. Our players won't do it. So our players won't do it. Just like the Big 12 game.
Terrorism is one.
Or logic, or wisdom, or humanity, peace, love,
the
tenderness.
truth is-
What about this? What about this hand gesture?
Well, that's the shocker, Carrie.
yeah.
That's
But
what,
it
that's
also
Arizona
is the
State.
FU Texas, if you really want to look at it.
Leave the gateway hand gestures to me.
You do remember after the Big 12 championship game was over, it was out like crazy.
Yeah.
So if OU is to win this game, that photo celebration, that golden hat, you'll have nothing but horns down.
It's still like, and I know that we talked about this last week, but it's just shocking to me that A, this is a thing. B, that we have to ask about it at press conferences because it's a storyline. C, that the Big 12 even deemed this something that they had to respond to about way back when.
This is unsportsmanlike.
And I mean, if we want to go into a Big 12 roundtable here in a second, too, at the end, I'm more than willing, because Oklahoma playing 4 straight weekends at 11 a.m. is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I know the ratings, I know everything, why they do this shit at 11, but
It's Fox Big Noon
on homecoming weekend for, I think it is homecoming, right? On West Virginia weekend.
Everybody's having theirs right now, so
Regardless, I think OSU's the week before, and then OU's is it's in 2 weeks. So yeah,
I think
I'm pretty
Dad's
sure it
Day
is.
was the last home
or Parents' Week, whatever they call it now. I'm sure that I'm sure the words homecoming offends somebody in today's day and age. But
some people don't have a home to come to, Eddie.
yeah, well, you know what? Get out of your goddamn cardboard box. Walk down. Stop panhandling over at On Q on 23rd. And go get a job. How about that?
You have
Let's
your
start
on
there.
queue on 23rd. We have our
entire city of Norman.
entire city of Norman. I mean,
Just
it's
whatever
so bad now.
street corner.
Like Norman is like, it's become a gateway for the homeless. Like the homeless people move here because we're so nice to them, and we build them sheds to live in and stuff.
Forget the border. We need to build a damn wall around the state.
Now we're going to evict our own homeless.
Yeah, send them down to Houston.
Take that, Josh.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Josh. Didn't think about that.
It's too hot for them in Houston. Maybe they'll just keep migrating north.
Wichita would be a great place for a bunch of vagrants.
Which, by the way, homeless people with dogs, that makes no sense to me.
You know what they're doing? Well, I mean, you know what you're doing there is, if worse comes to worse and you can't find food at some point, you always got an out.
Never get too close to your dog. So not only do they have dogs,
That's chapter 3 in the Mike Vick autobiography.
they have dogs, but they can't get too close to them in case they got to eat them.
Exactly.
Okay, so that was such a weird tangent. I don't even know where we started from.
The horns down thing is just ridiculous that we're even here. But yes, it is a big week for Horns Up for Peace, and I guess we can do it on Wednesday, but I think we should all take a minute and have a moment for Jeff Ketchum at some point. Maybe a little moment of silence that we could start the unofficial 40 this week.
There, you just got it.
Well, I didn't participate, so we'll do it.
We'll do it again Wednesday.
I want Josh to be a part of it too. So,
are you currently blocked, or
still blocked?
You've been blocked since last year.
Yeah, when he was talking about my penis, and it just got weird after that.
Then I made the
funeral video, and it was all downhill after that.
Yeah.
But He knows that
You
I
both
love
played
him.
a part.
He loves me, so I know that for a fact.
I did see that you tweeted at him, which he couldn't see because you're blocked. So
I think somebody will probably get that message to him.
By the way, I will say this. I don't think Sam Ehlinger is going to be talking any shit to Jalen Hurts if Texas wins like he did to Kyler Murray.
I think Jalen Hurts won't be like Kyler if they lose. Because I thought Kyler initiated that last year.
Oh, I mean, there's no doubt that Kyler Murray is one of the sorest losers of all time.
Take the L. I mean, that's so.
Do we ever really know
if Baker
what was
did
said?
that, we'd love. If Baker did that, OU fans would have loved it.
That's true. It's fair.
I'm
just saying.
I thought that whole thing.
Being a jerk to Kyler Murray is a lot different than being a jerk to Jalen Hurts.
I think there's probably a mutual respect, I would say, between the two. I mean, I don't think they've ever. The thing that, I mean, I guess it was different with Kyler, but I always thought that, the thing with him and Baker is just because I think they legitimately just don't like each other. They're from the same hometown.
Oh, yeah.
They,
Both
the
Austin
thing
kids.
with Kyler is, I don't think it was any secret around here that, or around anywhere that, unless you're in the inner circle with the Murray family, Kyler's probably not the most likable person. He doesn't even really try to be. So I guess that's nobody's fault.
Well, and the whole thing about, when Kyler was at the podium and they asked him about Sam Ehlinger and he just refused to.
Yeah,
What was it they asked? Do you have respect for him or his game or something like that?
Yeah, I forget what the exact quote was.
It was
something
phrased just like that. Yeah, that's right.
And, I mean, it is what it is. I think, Kyler Murray's a little bit of an asshole. I don't think I'm not telling anybody anything new.
Right.
But he's my asshole, so stay back.
Okay, so you get through, the press conference today, the horns down stuff. I'm going to clear some stuff out here as we go along. The offensive line, we'll see on Adrian Ely. But Lincoln he is trying to prepare his team, and he was asked a little bit about things that happened last year. And the play specifically that was brought up was the little Jordan Humphrey play where it was like 3rd and 14 and he dragged basically the entire defense like 5 yards to get the first down. And there were a lot of those kind of plays, but also Lincoln said, there's no need to focus on that stuff because we had some plays of our own. But and here he is kind of talking about that, just the momentum swings in this game, that it's a real thing. Like and especially the last couple of years, there have been some huge moments. The Mark Andrews touchdown toward the end.
Well, yeah, that was 20-0
Yeah.
OU, and that was 24-23 Texas. Yeah. I mean, that was
they took the lead,
one. Yes.
and then OU threw and then last year with Kyler Murray and the 80-yard run that he had toward the end, Texas coming back and Dicker the kicker kicking the field goal. But here's Lincoln Riley just talking about the swings in this game.
There's going to be momentum swings in this game. There's going to be guys are going to make great plays. I mean, there's a lot of really good players on a field, a game that's extremely intense, that's important to both teams. There's any game I'll only speak on my history or my time with it, but I mean, any battle we've ever had with these guys, there's been a ton of momentum shifts back and forth. There's been a lot of great plays by both sides. They've normally come down and they've been pretty close games, So I mean, that's reflection on that day is we needed to make one more of those that we didn't make on any side of the ball. So no, not that play in particular. Again, there's a million you look forward. We're focused on this year's version. Obviously, a lot of things have changed for us, as have, I'm sure, them, and totally different set of circumstances. Just the venue's the same. That's about it.
And one of the things that, could cause a huge momentum shift are penalties. And penalties are officially a problem for the OU football team.
Even if it's not the horns down version, penalties are a real problem.
It's a problem enough that if you don't get it corrected, it will get you beat at some point and cost you a chance at winning a national championship. Because I think
It'll
that
get you 3rd and 42, 3rd and goal from the 42 or whatever it was.
And that was amazing in a sense. Like I've never, and people forget that Kansas also had one of those too, didn't they? It wasn't 3rd and 42,
No,
but it
yeah,
was something obnoxious.
And then the thing that was bizarre is that, they punted the ball back, but they still scored a touchdown with like 31 seconds to go before halftime. So they ended up making up for it. And boy, I don't know that I've ever felt Lincoln as pissed off as you could feel him from the press box when they were trying to when they were calling all the timeouts and Kansas was trying to just run out the clock.
I mean, I truly feel
to
that
get the ball back.
Gallimore tackle for loss on Puka was the play of the game because that was a third down and 5, and Puka had been running all over him, pulls them down, they get the timeout, and they're able to get the punt return by CD and then the touchdown. I mean, that little string of events is what officially ended that game.
Yeah.
But Lincoln actually, he said that they're going to try some new stuff this week in terms of
what the heck could you do?
Working with penalties.
We've got some ways that we're going to attack it a little bit differently here this week. I don't know that I'm going to, as is my nature, I don't know that I'm going to sit here and spell them all out for you, which is exactly what you're looking for. But, there is. I mean, you can't, if you're not getting different results, then you can't just keep doing the same thing over and over. And so we're going to attack it a little bit differently and put a premium on it. But like I said the other day, I'm not going to take away their aggressiveness. We're good enough to do both.
Multiple holding calls has nothing to do with being aggressive.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, what is the breakdown of their penalties as far as holds as opposed to
Jaden
an
Davis got
after the play type
what's
stuff?
A pre-snap? What's a attitude, emotion, and
Like,
what's a execution?
I don't feel like they've had a ton of
stupid meathead penalties.
Yeah, like over aggressive type stuff. I feel like most of it's been just boneheadedness. Boneheadedness?
I'll take it.
I mean, there's like the fight that Jaden Davis got into. Parnell Motley standing over people.
The thing about Jaden, luckily for him, is it went against Kansas too, so they offset.
That's right.
But
right.
yeah, I mean that's you can't do that.
No,
Parnell Motley had that pass that PI on 3rd and long where he just mugged the guy the entire way. That was a mental.
That's the kind of stuff that will get you beat this weekend in a close game. Like extending a drive. For instance, wasn't it Parnell Motley a year ago that extended the 4th quarter drive? I think Texas would have had 3rd or 4th down and long coming up, and then they had the PI in the 4th quarter on the Texas sideline that extended the drive for Dicker.
I think I think you're right.
Yeah, was that not Parnell Motley again?
I'll go back.
I mean,
I think you're
look
right.
it up right now, but
yeah,
that's the kind of stuff that gets you beat. If you don't make a penalty like that, you get off the field, and who knows what happened. Kyler Murray probably drives you down, and you win the game. And you go from probably and I guess in the long scheme of things, maybe they should thank Parnell Motley because that got Mike Stoops fired, and then the rest is history. But which, by the way, if you're listening on Tuesday, happy 1-year anniversary. #FUMS.
Ugh. I don't want to go back there. I'm like Lincoln.
I know. I mean, that was one of the
Lincoln
first
was actually
times
asked about it.
he's like,
I can understand why he was asked about it, just because it's something to write about. So Texas Week, it was a big story last year. And Lincoln clearly did not want to go there when asked about it today.
I don't look back at it anymore. I mean, it's over. I've answered 5,000 questions about that game and all that before, and I don't have any new answers on it. I'm excited about where we've headed as a program. I'm excited about the way we're playing defensively and and the progress we've made. But obviously, you're only as good as your next performance, and so this is the next one for us, and we plan to go play well.
This entire play-by-play box score from last year is just
atrocious.
It's insane what took place in the 3rd and 4th quarter.
I watched back a lot of games from last year. The even later in the year, the Oklahoma State game. I mean, just a travesty to watch. I mean, watching Trey Norwood just get blown by Tylan Wallace over and over and over again.
My thing about last year, I know Riley loves to point out as a great comeback. I thought Texas just phoned it in a little too early. I think they just
Which Oklahoma did that the year before.
start to run out the clock at 45-24. Like, all right, let's get out of here. And then before they knew it, they were back in the game. I didn't think the defense played that much better in the fourth quarter that spurred on the comeback.
There's nothing on the last drive. Maybe I'm completely making... Oh, yeah, there is.
Yeah, there is.
2nd and 11. Trey Norwood. Pass incomplete to Colin Johnson. It was on the Texas side of the field.
Yep.
And if you don't make that, in which I believe there was some discussion or argument that it was a uncatchable ball. But if you know,
it was, I remember that play being a little sketchy. Like it could have gone.
It could have gone either way, but they probably called it. Yeah,
and it goes against OU DBs every time because of their history. At least that's what it feels like. It feels like those guys don't get the benefit of the doubt based on what their track record has been.
Sure. And
well, you know what's
so if you get a stop there, it's 3rd and 11. Who knows?
You know what's bizarre?
Besides the point,
you could argue that Kansas tested OU's DBs more than anyone else has done this year.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. I mean, for the most part,
with
they probably did. Yeah. I mean,
that one that
South Dakota tried, but they couldn't. They just don't have the guys that could be able to do it.
I tell you what, let's do. We got to do something real quick. Got to pay some bills because the fine folks at Eskridge Lexus sent us to Lawrence in style this weekend.
Eskridge Lexus is all about embracing the best. That's why they are the official travel partner of the Soonerscoop.com podcasts. So it's time for us to recognize the Sooners' best with our Eskridge Lexus Player of the Game.
All right, we'll do Player of the Game, Play of the Game. We can do some stock up, stock down here going into Texas. But over the weekend, not only did I get to enjoy the luxury of the new 2020 RX 450H SUV, Mr. Eddie Radosevich. Sorry, Ed. Sorry about that. Got to drive it home most of the way from Lawrence. I didn't wake up, so it must have been a pretty smooth ride.
Oh, we killed it. We killed that drive.
You guys put on your baseball and
baseball
listening
and
to some
football.
baseball, watching my Tulsa Hurricane win. But they didn't win. They were up 30-9. You would think most teams could, but it was a very smooth ride, and I would give it the Eddie Radosevich approval.
I was 62 degrees the entire drive. I loved it.
Yeah, it was a great drive.
I was going to tell you, like, you could turn it up. Like, I noticed you were at 62, and I was like, you really like it that cold? Oh, you freak show.
I love it. I love the cold. Which
I like it, but I was like at 68 or something. I mean,
you don't want the alternative.
Crazy.
62. You want it 62.
Anyway, the new 2020s, they have made some upgrades this year. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatible. The car that we drove, the RX, the 2020, it was a hybrid. It's got the best miles per gallon for midsize sedan, and it's also, you can see why, the top-selling luxury hybrid. 31 city, 28 highway. And ours was a beautiful white pearl, eminent white pearls was called. So look, here's what you do. Go to eskridgelexus.com. I know a lot of people that are looking at these cars, families and things like that. Give Ed Eskridge a call over at eskridgelexus.com, and 405-755-9000 is the number to call. Tell them that you're a Scoop Podcast listener, that you enjoy the website, you're a subscriber, whatever, and they will do a special deal for you on any Lexus that they have in stock on the lot. So pays off if you're in the luxury car market to listen to the Scoop, because you'll get a great deal. So eskridgelexus.com. Check them out. Also 405-755-9000. Just go give them a visit, 700 West Memorial in Oklahoma City. And thanks, Ed, for the wheels. Made the trip spectacular as always. Okay, so I player of the game. I don't really care. I mean, you mentioned Neville Gallimore. It was,
that was a ho-hum game.
I'd say Rhamondre Stevenson's my player of the game.
He's stock up. Yep, he's everything.
He was definitely a guy that I think, as this season progresses, is going to get more interesting as far as what they do. Obviously, I think Kennedy Brooks. Would we all agree he'll play this weekend? There's no doubt about that. how you divvy up those carries, though, is starting to become an interesting conversation.
Especially when Jalen's taking some of those carries away
absolutely. I think that Rhamondre Stevenson, he might be the best running back on the football team, and that's not a slight to Trey Sermon or Kennedy Brooks. I think they're really, really good, but I think Rhamondre Stevenson has a little bit of a Damian Williams factor to him. I think you've mentioned that before, Bob.
And it's just, hey, you got to remember, he signed early, and that spurned Texas. Texas wanted him in January, and he said no. So if we get a chance to talk to him tomorrow, will be something I bring up, see if he says anything about it.
Well, here's the thing. He gets that benefit like Trey Sermon got when he was younger, when he gets to come into the game late. And you could see those Kansas players were not ready for him to come in. People just went up to him and grabbed him by the shoulders, thinking that was going to be all they needed to do to bring him down. And he would just get the F out of my way.
Not quite.
Yeah, you're going to have to do a lot more than that to get me down. And he was just bumping off of people, using his speed. That is always. I mean, that's the thing about Rhamondre is we still really haven't seen him get caught from behind. And that was something with Damian Williams too. It's he has, as big as he is, you wouldn't think he could be that fast, but he just runs away from people when he turns around that corner. And I don't know how much more we could heap praise on him, but just he makes cuts and he doesn't slow down. It's really impressive to watch him run.
He will run you over. He'll
run around you. He'll run you over.
He's just a very talented running back. He's a very talented guy with the ball in his hands, and it's almost, I guess, it's kind of messed up that I'm going to say this, but my only doubt about him right now is still, as he gets more carries, can he hold on to the ball? And I don't know why. I guess in a way, Sermon and Brooks have kind of proved it to me
you don't
over
know
the past years.
What a junior college kid went through that year. Did he ever really get hit to where he would had to fumble?
I don't know. And this is just, I guess, me being even a little paranoid about it, but I feel like Stevenson's the guy that all of a sudden he puts it on the carpet twice at the Cotton Bowl, and obviously that changes a lot of things. I don't think Oklahoma fans, as good as the quarterback play has been, and I guess you could say this even overall as far as the offense, but they carry the football very well. They do not turn the ball over very often. So just go ahead and blame me when OU turns the ball over 7 times this weekend.
All right, let's go around. Let's go defense. Start there first. Eddie, give me a stock up and a stock down on defense for you.
Let's go. I guess we could start offensively. Let's go stock up. What'd you say? What?
You said start defense.
Oh, did I say?
No. I said offense and defense.
Offense and defense? Yeah. I'd go either or. Defense, I'll go Brian Asamoah. I do like what he's done I think he's starting to build a little bit more of a resume that you can trust the guy when he's out there, which I think is only an added bonus considering where this linebacker group was. I don't know if we can call it
bringing a little punch with him, which is nice to see.
For sure.
And you already said Rhamondre Stevenson.
Rhamondre Stevenson for offense, and if you really want one more, I'll go Braden Willis. How about that?
Bob?
Let's see. Stock up on defense. I keep talking about him. David Agwebu, since he's got the start, and it's clear that they're back to that rotation at Sam and nickel. It used to be Caleb Kelly and Will Johnson. Now you're looking at Buki and Agwebu, and for him to be the true freshman that's out there starting says a lot because he wasn't even a mid-year guy. So the leaps and bounds that he's made, that's going to be nice because I think he can make that position work. Because it's clear Buki just can't get it done in run support. That's not a knock on him. That's just how little he is. He throws his body at you, and if he doesn't hit you, he just whiffs. So they need someone bigger. Agwebu's going to fill that role, and I thought he did a good job Saturday, and we'll see what he does against Texas. In terms of stock down, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't just much of a game that really anything kind of happened. I'll go, even though he just hasn't done much, Kenneth Mann. I'm sort of waiting for him to show that he can be one of those senior leaders that can make a big play. He hasn't really been asked to do it just yet, but he also hasn't done anything of note through the first 2 games that he's been back.
By the way, here is your question to Lincoln Riley about, and about David Agwebu, and I'm going to make the promise right now. I'm going to learn how to spell his last name eventually.
He's been mentally able to handle, learning a new defense. Being able to bounce around a couple of different positions. So the kid's been really impressive mentally. And then, he's a guy right now that flashes. There's just some flash plays of his ability where you're like, man, this guy could, has a chance to really be a good player. And to combine that with a guy that's smart and doesn't bust too much, I mean, it's a good start. We hope as he continues to grow that it becomes more and more flash plays, and then feel like that it will be. But he's his work ethic, the way he carries himself, we felt like he was ready for it.
All right. For me, I don't know how much further the stock can go down. I guess I have to say Parnell Motley just because I've championed him this whole time, and I finally brought Josh McCuistion over to my side. And so I guess I have to, if I'm going to be fair and objective and balanced, I have to point out when he doesn't play well.
The best thing about Saturday
yeah,
is that after that pass interference call, which I believe was the first drive of the game, it didn't snowball for him.
Yeah.
He actually made a couple plays, and he got shoved on one that wasn't called.
If he would have cut that interception,
Yes.
I wouldn't be doing this right now to you, Parnell, Piedmont. I'll go with another stock down. Offensively, boy, I'm going to say the entire tight end group. I mean, they're out there on the field. It's just, I feel there's a little bit.
Now I feel like an idiot for going stock up for Braden Willis.
Well, he's H-back.
He's an H-back. You're safe.
I'm saying Grant Calcaterra, Lee Morris.
I always just count all those guys together in one unit.
That was
and
crazy.
I think that, you know what, it's probably a
Well, the backmen are saying that Grant Calcaterra's big coming out party is Saturday. They've just been holding him back.
I think it's not as much a reflection on them as it is on Jalen Hurts.
That's a weird game because the leading receiver had 2 catches.
Yeah.
What do you think O.J. Howard did to Hurts at Alabama that has hurt him so much?
That is crazy. I guess Lee Morris did have 1 catch for 19 yards. Grant had 1 catch for 19
Calcaterra had a catch. Morris had, but
the Calcaterra catch was basically
that was the 3rd and goal after the 48.
Yeah, it was a 19-yard catch, but
it didn't mean anything. Yeah.
They were playing back on the goal line, so it shouldn't even count.
Not only because it was 3rd and goal at the 48, so they get the 19-yard gain, but then they had the 15-yard penalty, so it went back to the 44.
That's right.
So it didn't even matter.
Both of them had more yardage than Charleston Rambo did. Bob was sitting in the press box, and he was like, this was late in the game. This was right before we had to go down. And he's like, does Charleston Rambo have a catch at all today? And I was like, I don't think he does. Very next play, Charleston Rambo catch.
It's like, all right.
So it was a magical moment.
It's like, just tell me who you want me to give a catch to.
It was just such a weird game, and I saw some people talking about this, and I definitely don't even think that I subscribe to the idea, but it is kind of weird that Riley will use his quote unquote trick plays against Kansas,
against crap teams,
against the bad teams. You would think that it'd be the other way around. Like you'd want to save that, wouldn't want to put it on film, and I don't know how much. Like I could see Riley not even really caring that it's quote unquote on film, but it is surprising that he uses so many reverses and stuff.
But they're all the same. It's just reverse passes to the quarterback. That's like.
Do you think that he does that because he just doesn't feel like they're disciplined enough?
Probably.
And he can just catch them in a.
Yeah.
Like, didn't they have the Dimitri Flowers throwback against Kansas 2 years ago? Or, 4 years ago?
Yes,
in his first year?
He about got. Or did Rodney Anderson catch that?
It was Flowers that scored. I think it might have been a flea flicker.
We're talking about 2 different plays. I think you're talking about the one against Houston where Flowers had
Nixon
wide open.
I'm thinking of the one where Baker was backed into a corner, looked like he had nowhere to go, and he flipped it to Anderson, who just burst open. That was in Lawrence.
I can't remember. I was talking about the one in Norman.
You're talking about Iowa State where they did the whole the thing with Baker to Shepard, back to Baker to Flowers.
Yep. Okay. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And Iowa State was shit at the time, so
Yes.
it qualifies. This qualifies.
Absolutely.
Which
qualifies.
they still might be. I don't know.
And is that an antiquated line of thinking that you save plays for does that
Probably.
does that happen anymore? Is that just
No.
a thing of the past?
I think
like I saved this trick play for Texas.
Yeah, I think that is definitely a 100% Olds take on my part.
Well, there's tendencies. I mean, like, if you decide to run a fake kick or something like that, you notice something in film study that you could take advantage of. So that stuff happens. But I mean, yeah, usually, there's trick plays where you hope to have them, and then you see an opportunity, you really need a boost or something. Sometimes, and maybe that kind of signals too that OU just wasn't clicking on all cylinders offensively, and that he felt like they might have needed something.
Well, I mean, when you run into the problems that they have from an offensive line standpoint, it seems like that is the beginning of a lot of things. And, they really, what they average yards per rush on Saturday.
It was pretty good because of the second half.
Yeah, and
Second half
the
was
61-yarder puts
Well,
it out of whack.
Rhamondre
but-
Stevenson, he averaged 21.8 on his own.
Yeah.
Let's see, average per rush, 7.2.
Yeah, see, that's
It
kind of
was
ridiculous.
14 for 24 at halftime, less than 2. And part of that is because of C.D. Lamb and Hurts losing like 30 yards on that one play alone.
Sure.
But it wasn't pretty.
Hurts went down to like 1 yard or something after that series. It was ugly.
And then Jalen went crazy in the second half. He had about 60 yards or so.
And he probably had 40? Probably had like 40 on the first drive because he picked up 24 on the third or on the second and 8.
It was him and Sermon to start that second half and just kind of, all right, we're done here.
By the way, yeah.
If we want to do one more stock up, can we?
Yeah, and I've got one. Maybe if you don't,
Offense.
Nope.
Okay, not thinking of the same guy. Then I was wondering.
We're not on the same wavelength.
I thought Saturday. If you want to point at anybody outside of Rhamondre Stevenson on the offensive side of the ball, Jaden Hazelwood continues.
Yeah.
It feels like I think he had 2 catches that were both for first downs. Both
if you
moved the
throw
sticks.
it to him, he's going to catch it.
Yeah, and I think that's a positive. Can you do it now against a worthy opponent?
That's a good thing you're bringing
see.
up is now he's getting the first down.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get catches for like 6 or 7 yards, I mean absolutely nothing.
Guess what I'm going to do this week in my game prediction?
Hazelwood's going to get 100
It's
yards?
Hazelwood's breakout performance.
Oh, I thought you were going to say get it in on time.
No, that won't happen. Not with a short week.
At least we're being honest.
I got freaking Bevo Bash Friday morning.
Oh, man.
It's going to suck going down to Marietta.
Hey, I don't think I'm going to make one rule.
I love Bevo Bash. I love the people.
I'm going to make one rule. We can't bitch about anything OU Texas related this weekend because the weather is going to be so good that I don't feel like we're ever going to get this again, so we need to take advantage of it.
I really want to go by and smash up some of Bosworth's Dr. Pepper fried pies right in front of his face.
So you usually have those down there?
No, Dr. Pepper's having their Fansville thing, like at that exit where the Arbuckle Pies is.
Yeah. I didn't know
mess
that.
with our Bevo Bash bastards. So, yeah, that's the only reason I'd smash his pies. Not because I hate Bosworth.
Sounds like a euphemism.
I know it does. Sounds like something
Smash
from Urban
his pies.
Dictionary. God dang it. So, anyway, Lincoln Riley kind of wrapping up his press conference today. I know this is something that has you very triggered, Eddie, even though we kind of like it because we get out of there and get our work done for the most part. We didn't leave Kansas's parking lot till like 6:30, something like that. So, I mean, we have a long day, but it's better than going to bed at 4 a.m. And Lincoln Riley was asked about 11 a.m. kicks. It was announced today that West Virginia will be 11 o'clock. And kind of a bad week to ask him about that stuff because, it's OU Texas. But here was his response.
Yeah, I mean, it's, it is what it is. I mean, we're obviously totally 1,000% locked in on this one this week. So is it ideal? No. But that's when they told us we'll play. And, we'll figure out the recruiting end of it. We'll make it work. And like I've said before, they just It doesn't matter if it's 6 a.m. in the parking lot. They just tell us when and where, and we'll show up ready to play.
And so you go to Baylor, which could be your biggest game. So that would be a really good recruiting weekend you won't have. You go to Oklahoma State. Might not be that big of a game if Spencer Sanders keeps turning the ball over like he did Saturday.
Just guaranteed a loss in Stillwater.
Going to TCU, which shouldn't be a big game.
I mean, that's why they made Houston a big one. They knew when the schedule came out of TCU.
So West Virginia, yeah. I mean,
Iowa State weren't playing up to a high level.
Yeah.
There was no marquee home game coming
so
up. So
Iowa State basically becomes your last big marquee game.
Maybe, unless they just start. You might just make it that way because you have to, even if the Cyclones aren't at that level. You just did like a couple of years ago with Texas Tech for homecoming. That wasn't a big game, but they made it. They brought Buki, Ronnie Perkins, Deshaun White. They made it that way just because it was a night game and they didn't care who the opponent was. They might do that again this year.
I would bet Joe C is going to somebody, and they can at least use this 4 in a row to say, hey, we won a night game, the Iowa State game, or we won it something that's not 11 a.m.
Because they'll be at Kansas State, and then bye week, and then Iowa State. So they've got a while to try to do politicking and try to get this time set for them.
I just don't understand how a conference as a whole can be okay with the idea. And I get that 11 a.m. games are, quote unquote national windows, but to not have any type of presence at night is
weird.
Just, that's insane to me.
Really weird.
I almost think that is like, and I don't run a conference. I don't work for an athletic department, so maybe I'm just completely in the wrong. But like, I don't see how that's a good thing to not have any type of social footprint. And we know that, talk about social footprint. We know that the Big 12 is not going to send anything out on Twitter because the people that run that are morons.
Okay.
I could run the Big 12 account for sure. I'd have double the amount of followers.
Yeah, I mean, you're a victim of circumstance because your TV deal. I mean, you notice a lot of these teams that have night games, like, was it Kansas is playing Texas next week?
Yeah, and that's on the Longhorn Network.
But to be a night game, it's on the Longhorn Network. And like you look at the SEC Network, they have, that gives them 2:30 windows and 6 o'clock windows. And same with the Big Ten. Like, having your own network now is the only way that you're getting night games on a consistent basis. And the Big 12 not having its own network kills them because they're reliant on ESPN and ESPN. Like the Oklahoma State game versus Kansas State, ESPN Plus, but it was 6 o'clock. I mean,
and that's what happens when Fox decides they're done with primetime. Well, if Fox wants to go,
what Fox is like, well, we got baseball, and the other thing is, we're not going to beat ESPN. They're just like, we're surrendering the night to ABC.
Because you could make the argument that all these 11 o'clock games like Texas Tech, like West Virginia, would have been the 6 p.m. Fox game, but Fox isn't doing that now.
Right. So that's where you are in the Big 12. You're getting a nationally televised marquee game. It's just at 11 o'clock. By the way, I'm probably missing something here. But maybe I'm not. You tell me. But the whole thing, and it's always been this way since I was a kid. The merchants. Like, is there a part of you that's like, why do we always have to, like, when did the merchants become like a sacred thing? Like, I'm sorry you have a business that relies on seasonal sales. Maybe you should have a business that doesn't.
Oh, I don't know how that would work. I mean, when I talk about merchants, I'm not really talking about the stores as much as the bars and stuff.
There's always going to be people at Logie's, though.
Yeah, but they
24/7. Sugars.
Sugars isn't open at 10 a.m. in the morning. I mean,
there's not like a breakfast buffet at Sugars on game day.
Gotta let the pregnant dancer sleep at some point. I don't know. I mean, I think that.
But it's just that whole thing of the merchants.
I think the merchants are part of it's an extension in a way as far as it's just bullshit for the fans. Like,
yeah, no,
nobody
I agree
wants
with
to get up at 11 a.m.
I agree with that. It
It's
sucks
good
for the
for
fans,
us.
but like, who cares if hotels can't now gouge you for 2 nights in a row instead of 1?
I think that's part of the spirit of college football, isn't it?
Like, I'm sorry, Lubbock, that you won't be able to charge me three grand, or $300 for a shitty courtyard. Or
I don't think
a
they're part of the
Fairfield.
merchants, though. Like, it's unfair.
Are you
for
just
these-
talking like
for these-
Campus Corner?
Yeah, like
Is
these
that-
Campus
is that what
Corner
you're talking
bars
about?
are basically they're doing well, but I mean, we're talking probably $40,000.
I'm sorry, ladies who opened up dress shops because you were bored at home aren't gonna, make a killing on game day.
I think they're going to be doing fine. We got online ordering these days.
That's
But-
the other thing. Like online sales, like.
Well, if there was a way that I could get 2 Coors Long necks at 10:30 via the internet, I probably would, and I think there probably is.
Yeah. It's called Postmates.
Yeah.
Or Grubhub.
I do wonder if you have a 6 o'clock night game, how busy is the traffic like from 11 o'clock on at night compared to 11 o'clock game from like 4 o'clock on? Does it balance itself out because people want to go home for a 6 o'clock game at night?
As long as people don't drive their train or their cars into trains.
Oy.
If you do that, you're an idiot.
I think
We've already seen it.
Oh, I know. It happens. It happens
in
way
Norman,
too often.
it happens once a month.
Like I
now.
don't know how that happens. I just don't. I've never understood how somebody gets hit by a train
Do
or
you
runs
not love
into a
watching
train.
videos like the Russian dash cam videos on Facebook?
Yes.
Like, those suck me in every time.
Yeah, but it also, like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, these people are Russian. How did they rig our election? Like, how did this happen?
They can't even drive on highways without jackknifing trucks and tipping over, cows.
Like, I do understand, too, for 11 a.m. games that, in a way, like, I could probably spin it from a recruit standpoint. If you had no trouble being able to get to Norman by the morning for the kickoff, like, I think it would be a better situation if you were a recruit getting to hang out with the players all day, actually getting to kind of do something at night if you wanted to go to a party or whatever. Like, I think that would be better than a 7 o'clock game because there's not a whole lot of shit going on at 10:30 or not a whole lot. I mean, I get it, but
to a lesser extent, also the coaching staff isn't going to be worried about you.
Sure.
They're focused on the game. If
Sure.
you play at 11 by 3. I mean, sometimes that's why like Lincoln will cut his pressure short. He wants to go deal with
Yeah, he wants
recruiting
to go
as
hang
soon as
out
that
with them.
game's over.
it just I get it. I'm one of the people that says you need to embrace the 11 a.m. kickoff, but at the same time, like, I think that four 11 a.m. kickoffs in a row for a school that is now basically the 11 a.m. Like, I used to make fun of Big Ten teams that were the 11 a.m. kickoff, but that's just kind of the reality of the situation, I guess, for OU.
Yeah,
right
you always
now.
had that game that was like, it was so bad in the Big Ten, it became like a massive disappointment to go from like College Game Day to that.
This.
Yeah. It's like Miami of Ohio and Indiana. Like, damn it. But yeah, I mean, 11 o'clock is the new window for Fox.
Or Wisconsin. Wisconsin always played at 11. it
Yeah,
seemed
they
like.
always
And
do.
they are still playing. They're they're a team in the running for a college football playoff this
You
year.
gotta milk the cows, I'm sure. At
Camp Randall.
making all the cheese late in the afternoons. I think that's when that's when the best cheese is made, in between 4:20 and 4:20.
All right. So Texas, here we go. We're going to do the regular unofficial 40 will be on Wednesday. I apologize that, we did not get the post-game pod up until today. Just travel plans, and then everybody's schedules just didn't match up. When
I think
we had full plans of doing it in the car on the way home, and it just didn't. It was weird. Too many wires, and
I think this one's better. We got the Monday press conference
Yeah.
in. We were able to talk about what Riley said today, a couple of the players, and
And we'll have Grinch and the players on Wednesday for you.
yeah, and whoever on Tuesday. I don't know who we'll get, but I kind of liked it this way. This is, I think, a good kickoff to OU Texas week, which is personally probably one of my favorite weeks of the year. So
You cover games at Kansas to earn the right to cover OU.
right,
Texas.
you earn your badge in Kansas to be able to get validation to get into this one, and we were talking about like just the different changes in
I wish I knew you guys felt like that.
momentum.
I would have just not gone to Lawrence.
You should have come, or you did come.
I did. I was the
COME
one
come.
driving you around for the most part until I made Eddie do it.
Well, I technically probably drove more, but
No, you went from Tanawa to
Tawanda.
Tawanda.
We all got out, took a knee, had a moment for Jordan Phillips.
My God, he is getting into it with Taylor Lewan.
Who?
Jordan Phillips.
Where?
On Twitter.
Oh, why?
He said
Oh, the Bills and the Titans played each other over the weekend, didn't they?
He said, was glad Taylor Lewan could make it back to help contribute to my 3 sacks.
Oh, Jesus. Well,
and then
Tennessee Titans are terrible.
And then Taylor Lewan started going after the guy from Clemson. What's his name? He said he called him a first-round draft backup.
Taylor, the Titans, they're like 1-3. What's he doing?
He's pissed off
that they're 1-3.
And then I saw where Jordan Phillips this morning put up the article about Taylor Lewan and PEDs.
Oh.
So yeah,
that got personal really, really quickly.
I said I've met Taylor several times. He's a super nice guy. He hangs out with our boys from the Kings of Leon.
Wait a second.
Gabe's
you meet Taylor
best buddy.
Lewan, then you start doing male performance enhancement commercials on the radio. Did he give you steroids?
I would be giving him steroids.
That
that would work.
Technically, yeah. I guess that is true.
But no, I said my advice, and this is mean, but my advice would be to answer Jordan Phillips with, "Hey, great game, buddy. I didn't even know you were in the league until you made those 3 sacks the other day."
It would. I guess the Bills won. They got the last laugh, though.
Yeah,
They're 4-1.
Bills have only lost to the Patriots.
They got a good defense.
Got Baker tonight.
I might be handicapping this completely wrong, but I think the Browns are going to win. Like, I thought that was a season-defining win last week at Baltimore. But if they lose tonight, it's like a 3 steps forward, 5 steps back type thing. And they're underdogs, so they're catching some points. So if you're hearing this before the game,
Odell is going to want to go off tonight because he did not have a good game last game.
Be interesting. I guess we still don't really know what this Browns team is.
You know who's really also this has really helped with the whole Brown situation and Odell Beckham and the turmoil? Sterling Shepard is playing fantastic, and Daniel Jones loves throwing the football to him.
He's definitely benefited from it. Did he get hurt in the game? Because I saw he's on concussion protocol today.
I guess so.
I didn't know
catch that.
I didn't either until I saw that this morning.
When I got up Sunday, the first thing I did was went to see the Mason Rudolph hit because everybody was talking about it.
That was another.
That was so scary.
That was another. I think I tweeted it too. That was another one of those moments that I've sat there on a Sunday and just been like, and I love football. Like, don't get me wrong, but just sit there. And it's like, God, this is so uncomfortable to watch, and this happens basically once or twice a weekend that you see somebody get hit, and it's like, this is very, very uncomfortable.
It was the worst example possible of, or best, like how helmets sometimes just don't matter.
It just, like
there was no helmet you could design to stop him from getting knocked out.
No. And it's kind of like, what was it? 2 weeks ago when that Thursday night game, the Packers game, and Packers. Seattle. Was it Seattle? I think it doesn't matter.
It was.
I think it was Seattle. But there's like nothing you can do. Like the friendly fire stuff is.
Oh yeah, when the two ran into each other.
I don't know what you can do about that.
Yeah. Well, it's just getting underneath those chins. I mean, there's that area right there.
Yeah. Well, I was happy to see that he was okay, and it sounds like everything's gonna check out and he's gonna be fine.
Fix your damn carts, Pittsburgh.
Oh my God, that's so embarrassing. I will say though, the guys in helmets without the face mask on is really funny to me.
Like he got hit so hard he got knocked back into the 50s. I saw.
No, but just like people walking around without face masks on look really funny to me.
Yeah. By the way, I will never call anyone in at 5 a.m. just to fire them, just so you know.
I saw last night that somebody, I think Nate Barstool or somebody I follow on Twitter was like, yeah, I'm hearing like this was at like 9:30 that Jay Gruden's at some bar in somewhere around DC, like buying people drinks, saying that he just got fired. And sure enough, this morning when I woke up, it was like Jay Gruden's been relieved of his duties. So it will be interesting. I'm excited for this week, though. I think that everybody knows that the Cotton Bowl is. We can talk a little bit about with Josh on
beer has never tasted
on Wednesday,
as good
but
as it does outside the Cotton Bowl.
It's the best. It's the best experience, the best place to watch a game, even though it's a what it is. It's a shitty complex, but it's our shitty complex, and I wouldn't want it any other way.
It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a great game. The Eyes of the Nation won't have game day, but they're going to Florida, right? Since if Auburn would have won, they probably would have had game day again at the Cotton Bowl. But Sam Ehlinger's going to be there. Jalen Hurts is going to be there. Tom Herman's going to be there. I don't know if Zach Smith has complimentary tickets or not, but Lincoln Riley will be there. It will be there. So looking forward to it. Wednesday, we'll be back with the Unofficial 40. Hardcore OU Texas breakdown then. But we hope you enjoyed it. Thanks to Eskridge Lexus once again for the wheels this weekend. Go check them out at eskridgelexus.com. And also, don't forget, get that OU credit card, midfirst.com/U40, on our presenting sponsor for the Unofficial 40. So thanks to Eddie. Thanks to Bob. Sorry we couldn't make it work with Josh, but he had mommy and me swim day, I guess, apparently, again today.
I don't know if he wanted you to say that news, that he might be going transgender. He's going to be a mother.
He's having a uterus installed. All right. We'll see you guys back here after OU Texas on the Eskridge Lexus postgame, but we'll be back Wednesday for the Unofficial 40. So go like, subscribe on the various pages that we have out there on the internet. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to SoonerScoop.com podcasts.